Welcome to another tutorial of Proflan YouTube channel. In this particular video, we are going to look at a question that made some students cry in the exam of May-June 2025. So we are going to have a candid discussion so that you can be able to see how are you going to answer your questions so that you avoid being the students who are going to cry 2026 May-June. If you are new to Proflan YouTube channel, consider subscribing so that when I'm going to upload more tutorials, you'll be notified. One of the questions that was asked was to describe the motion between time is 0 to time is 3 seconds. So you can see this is basically the region where the students were asked to describe the motion, this section here. So here, the speed was constant. So we're going to say here is uniform speed. The motion is uniform speed. So that's what you are supposed to say in that particular question. Students who said something else ended up crying that exam. Question 2, describe the distance and calculate the distance traveled by the skater between time is 0 and time is 3 seconds. So those students who managed to understand that from a graph you work out area under the graph, velocity time graph, you work out the area under the graph in that particular section you are told. So students were supposed to work out the area under the graph in order to get the distance. So don't forget that whenever you're going to be asked to find distance covered, you are going to be asked to work out distance traveled by an object. When it's a velocity time graph, when it's a speed time graph, you work out the area and the graph. But if they're going to ask you to work out what we call acceleration, you work out the gradient of the graph so that you can be able to work it out. Next, state what's meant by deceleration. Deceleration is a rate of decrease of velocity per unit time, or negative acceleration. Then candidates were asked to draw a tangent at 9 seconds, and then they were supposed to work out the deceleration. Remember, a gradient of a velocity time graph gives you acceleration, but since speed was decreasing, this graph, candidate was supposed to get a deceleration, and the tangent at this particular point is shown here. And then a candidate was supposed to get a gradient of 0.57 meter per second square to represent acceleration. Another question also that made most of the students cry in this exam is the question on turning effect of a force, moments, principle of moments. And clockwise moment is equals to clockwise moment. And the first question was define moment of a force in words. You are not asked to state in a formula. So if a student has stated in using a formula, then it means this student ended up crying in the exam because no mark was awarded. So you are supposed to say that a moment of a force is a product of force and perpendicular distance from the pivot to the point of action of the force. So you are supposed to know how a moment is calculated. Then number 2, a candidate was asked to mark a position where the center of gravity acts. So this was a meter rule. If it's a meter rule, it's 100 centimeters. So meaning the center of gravity, the COG, or the weight will be acting at the center of the meter rule. That's going to be the 50 centimeter mark. Number 2, candidates were supposed to calculate the mass of the ruler, meter rule. Yeah. So the first thing the candidates were supposed to do is to work out clockwise moment is equals to anti-clockwise moment, and that is the principle of moments. That's what they were supposed to do. Then in this case, this is going to provide a clockwise moment, and this one will provide a clockwise moment as well. The weight of the object is going to cause a clockwise moment, guys, because you see from the pivot here to where the weight is acting, there is a distance. And what distance is it? 8, because this is 42 and this is 50. So the distance between that is going to be what? 8. Number 2, the distance from the pivot to where the mass was placed at 80 centimeter mark, from 80 to 42, what's the distance? It's 12. So most students cried because they ended up using this particular distance here, from here to here. That's the distance they used, which is wrong. You're supposed to use the distance from where the force is acting to where the pivot is. So this distance is going to be what? It's going to be 80 minus 42. And that's why you can see I said 0.12 times 38, 0.12 times 38 plus W times 8, so that I have the sum of the clockwise moments. Then we are going to have now anti-clockwise moment is this one here, from where the weight of 0.34 is acting to where the pivot is. So from 10 mark to 42, the distance is 32. And then you're going to get your answer as 0.79 Newton as the force W. But now you are supposed to remember that weight is mass times gravity. Mass times gravity. So mass times gravity gives you the weight, and that's the weight of the meter rule. So what is the mass of the meter rule? The mass will be weight divided by gravity. Weight divided by gravity. And that is going to be 0.79 divided by 9.8. Gravity is 9.8. Gravity is what? 9.8. So you are supposed to do that, and you get your answer being equivalent to what? This value that we have here, 0.081 kg. 0.081 kg. You get that, and then you earn a whooping 3 marks. A whooping 3 marks to take you to the next grade. Then after working out that, students were asked to find density. We are very sure there will be a question on density. You'll be asked a question on density. What you need to remember is that density is equal to mass over volume. Mass over volume. We have gotten the mass from this part. The mass is 0.081, and the volume. How will we find the volume? We were told the thickness here is 6.0 times 10 raised to power minus 3, and the length of this is 1 meter, and the width is 2.6 times 10 raised to power negative 2. So meaning, if we are working out the volume is equals to length times width times height. So this is going to be equals to 6.0 times 10 raised to power negative 4. No, sorry. That's an international crisis. Negative 3. So that means you need to read whenever you're working out this question, so means you need to read the information given carefully. You need to read the information given carefully, so that you'll be able, you write exactly what is there. Then the length of this is 1 meter. We use times 1 times this, which is what? This is going to be 2.6 times 10 raised to power negative 2. Then if you work out that, you will be having your beautiful volume. Now, once you have that beautiful volume, you can go ahead and try to find the density. So this is mass over volume, and that's going to be 519.2 kilogram per meter cubic. And then if we can round it to number of significant figures of the raw data, that's going to be 520 kilogram per meter cubic. Next question that made most students cry was the question about momentum. Most students, they don't like this question. Can you comment in the description down below here? Do you like momentum yourself? Do you like momentum? Just comment. Let me get to know if you could have cried in this. You yourself, do you like momentum? That's right there. The momentum is a product of force and velocity, because we know momentum is mass times velocity. So we can say it's a product of force and velocity. So we are going to take train A is moving that direction, we shall take that positive. Train B is moving this direction, we take to the left negative. Then once we have done that, we are supposed to calculate velocity of the train immediately after collision. So we are going to use the concept momentum before collision is equals to momentum after collision. Okay, now wait. They are going to collide and they will join together and move with a common velocity. So meaning we need to work out what's the momentum before they collide. It was moving at this before and they collide. This was moving at that before they collide. So meaning to be the mass of A times the velocity, which is 0.34, plus the mass of B times negative, because momentum is a vector quantity. It has direction. So you have to include that particular what? negative sign there. Then we are going to have 0.45 times 0.34 plus 0.21 times negative 0.12. Then if you work out that, you are going to get your answer positive 0.19. Why are we adding this, guys? We are adding these two here because the two masses got stuck together, moved as a single body. They stick together and they moved together. So meaning you are going to add the mass of this one and the mass of this one body, move with a common velocity. And then if you work it out, you get your answer positive. Since in this particular question we had said to the right is positive, then we say they will move to the right. A different train traveling with a momentum of 0.26 slows down to stop after this. So we're going to use the concept of impulse. Impulse is change in momentum. Impulse is change in momentum, and impulse is Ft, force times time. And that is equivalent to the change in momentum. And our change in momentum, remember, it slows down from that momentum. So the change in momentum will be 0.26 because the final momentum will be 0. So final minus initial will be 0.26. Then now, since we want to find the force, we shall divide by the time, which is here, both sides. So we remain with F is equals to change in momentum, which is 0.26 divided by 2.1, and the force becomes 0.12. Another formula or another equation that you need to remember before you sit for this exam is force is equals to what? Force is equals to MA. You may be asked a question to use force is equals to MA. Then there was a question on thermal energy, and this case student was supposed to state which container had a larger temperature change, and we had a dull surface and a white shiny surface. Remember, dull surfaces are good emitters of heat or good absorbers of heat. Now, since they were containing a hot liquid, it means that we are going to focus on thermal energy lost. So, which means that container A is going to have a larger change in temperature because it's going to lose a lot of thermal energy, right? So that is what you are supposed, because dull surfaces, dark surfaces are good emitters, of thermal energy or heat. State in terms of energy, why temperature remains constant. Temperature will remain constant if energy absorbed is equal to the energy lost. So that is what the student was supposed to say. Some student cried, some student got this question right. Then also state the name of the additional method energy transfer that occur when the lead is removed. There are three modes of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. Three modes of heat transfer. So if a student mentioned evaporation here, that is an international crisis. I think the examiners called a meeting to condemn such kind of an answer in exam. A mode of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. So when the lead was removed, it means there were a lot of convection current was set up. So the mode of heat transfer that was eminent here is convection. And then we have explained whether why there is a much greater rate of transfer of energy through the metal than through the wood. Number one, the candidate was supposed to ascertain that there's a great heat transfer through the metal because metal is a good conductor, is a good conductor since it has free electrons, or delocalized electrons that move freely, and as they collide with other ions. The software stopped writing. The software stopped writing. So as it moves, it will collide with other ions, other atoms, transferring thermal energy. Will transfer thermal energy. But wood is a poor conductor. It does not have delocalized electrons. Question number 5 was testing about describing an experiment how to determine speed of sound in air. Here, a candidate was supposed to highlight a few things. Number 1, the candidate was supposed to state, let a person stand 100 meters from a wall, a large wall, produce sound, and time how long sound takes to hit the wall and hear the echo. Once you have said that, then you need to mention, repeat the experiment to find accurate time. You must also mention the instrument you use to measure time, that is a stopwatch. You must also mention the instrument you use to measure the distance from the wall to where you are, that is a tape measure. Then repeat of the experiment is necessary so that you can bring the aspect of accuracy whenever you are explaining your experiment. Then lastly, the student was supposed to state, to find the speed of sound, use the formula speed is equals to 2 times distance over time. The student should say 2 times because sound will travel from where he is to the wall and then come back, so that you can be able to earn all your marks. State the name of the region of electromagnetic spectrum used by Bluetooth, that is radio waves, used in medical treatment of cancer, gamma rays, used for cooking food. You have microwaves. You need to understand all those uses, and then you need to understand harmful effects, and then you need to understand how you can be able to protect yourself from the waves in the electromagnetic spectrum. Don't forget to go through the common properties of waves in the electromagnetic spectrum also, guys, because a question may be asked from there. Then speed of sound in air is, so speed of electromagnetic waves is 3 times 10 raised to the power 8 meters per second. If they ask you speed of sound in air is 330 meters per second. If they ask you speed of sound in a liquid or water, that is around 1,500. In solid, speed of sound is approximately 5,000. So some of the questions that are usually asked, but I want you to take note of that, guys. Next is the use of the wave equation. Here, student was supposed to understand what they mean, or what we mean by gigahertz. And gigahertz is 10 raised to power 9. And then use the wave equation as shown there. There was also a question on thin lenses. Whenever you are constructing ray diagrams, one of the ray will run parallel to the direction of the principal axis, and the moment it hits the lens, it's passed through F, and it meets this ray that's starting from the center of the lens, and this is going to be inverted real image. Yeah, so basically that's what the students were supposed to know. Correction of long-sightedness is use of a concave mirror that is shown here. So for the next part of this particular tutorial, just check the link in the description so that you can be able to access part 2 of this. What are other questions that made students cry? We'll talk of electromagnetic induction is a question is here. We have question to do with space physics, made most of the student cry, and radioactivity. Just check the link I've added in this description. Just check the link I've added here so that you can be able to download. And if you're new to ProfLearn YouTube channel, consider subscribing so that anytime I'm going to upload more further and more tutorials, you'll be notified. See you in the next tutorial, guys. All the best in your coming exam. Leave a comment down below if this video was helpful.